What up, world? You already know what it is. It's your favorite co-host, Podcast Pack, back with another one of them things, another episode of Successful Habits. And as always, I'm here with the man, with the plan himself, Coach D West. What's going on with you today, Coach?
Man, not too much. Everything all right with you?
Yeah, man, I can't call it, man. We woke up this morning, so I'm blessed. We
For
beyond blessed
sure.
for sure. So, we like to welcome y'all back to the podcast. First of all, happy Monday. Hopefully, you guys are off to a great start to your week. I want to starting our shows off with a little bit of basketball, not really trivia, but more so just to get Coach West's perspective on a couple of things. First things first, who's the best player in the world right now, Coach West?
That's a tough question, but if I just had to pick, I would say
Right
I
now,
would say Joker.
okay, cool.
I
Okay.
would say Joker. I would say
Okay.
Joker. I just think Joker impacts the game on multiple levels. I think Shea is not far behind him. I think Giannis is a pretty good answer. Honestly, I always think top three, top five, they're kind of interchangeable year by year. Like all of them are very, very elite. Obviously,
For
they're
sure.
in the NBA. All of them are very elite. They're on another level, and I
You think
think
Shea
any
you
given
think Shea worked his way to top 3 that fast?
when you talk about best player in the world right now, I would
Yeah,
say, you have to put him in a conversation, especially coming out the season that he just had, and he's a guard that plays both ends of the floor, offense and defense.
for sure.
It's kind of tough not to put him there right now. Now, if we're talking about, 5 to 10 year, who had the longest, on
For
top of the
sure.
world run, five to
For
ten
sure.
years, then that's a different conversation. But as far as just right now, I think you have to put him in that conversation.
Look, I'm definitely not mad at the take. I think that, like you say, what he was regular season MVP, Finals MVP, Conference Finals MVP. I want to say he was scoring champ this season, NBA champ. He's the absolute alpha on his team. Like everybody know who the basketball going to every trip down the floor and where he's trying to get to, and you still can't. It's still not a lot that you can do with him. So I ain't mad at the take. I think he's definitely up there, but if I had to say my number one in the world, excuse me, I think I would be kinda leaning more toward where you at, Joker, because man, the way that man impact the basketball game is something serious, man. I don't think I think Joker gives a lot of players hope, you know what I mean? Because he has 0 athleticism, like, not fast, slow first step.
Super skilled, just super skilled.
Super skilled, awkward jump shot form. It looked nasty, but it's green. I ain't gonna lie to you, it's green.
But this, and we talked about this in a previous episode, but that just goes to the evolution of basketball that we
For
were
sure.
referring to. I think he's so good in this era because his situation and the system that he's in allows him to be himself. Like
For sure.
the passer that he is, he's always put in a situation where oftentimes he's the primary playmaker and
For
they
sure.
run stuff for, him and Jamal Murray to play to each other's strengths and he
Mhm.
can find shooters and he'll make you pay if you try to double him or try to lower the hip too early in the paint and he'll make you pay. So I just think his IQ just kind of takes him to another level.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And I mean, like you say, it's his IQ and his skill. Like, it might not look like how you want it to look, but he's skilled, bro. Like he got crazy touch around the rim. He can shoot it from deep. He can, like you say, he can post up back to the basket. He can face up, make a move, get by you. He might not blow by you, but he'll get you in on his hip to where you dead. Like there's nothing you can do but foul or you know what I mean, or pray for a miss.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm with you 100% on that one. I think that probably my top three right now would definitely be Joker, would definitely be Shea. That third spot, I mean, it was so many injuries last year that, I just don't wanna, I'm before I could say a definite third person, we gotta wait to see how some of these people come back.
You don't want to put Giannis right there?
I wouldn't be mad at that. Like, one thing about Greek is I know for sure without a doubt about it, he gonna get his. Like, at the end of the game, he gonna have 30, 15, 9 assists off straight hustle and grit and grind. So I ain't mad at that. I'll throw Giannis. He definitely top five. He definitely top five for sure, for sure. I
Yeah,
think
and when we're talking about, this specific conversation,
for sure.
I kind of put myself in the mind frame of if I was starting a team with limited pieces or I don't know who the pieces are, I will be safe with the pick. So you would say, who are top three? So the three players that comes to mind that I think will be able to not necessarily carry a team, but do the things that the team needs in order to win.
For
So
sure.
that and those three players come to mind with Giannis. Obviously, he's been doing that in Milwaukee. Joker, obviously, with his playoff run and his championship run last season, he's been just on another level. And in shape, he kind of proved. I think the OKC Thunder were one of the more complete teams that we've seen in a
I agree
minute,
with
as
you
far
100%.
as offensively and defensively. But Shea just kind of showed you that he can put you on his back when you need him to.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I ain't mad at that take it off. I think we'll revisit this one a little bit later on down the line. Obviously best in the world, subject to change
Yeah, it
at
fluctuates.
at any point in time. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Somebody could have a real outstanding breakout season. You still got people like Luca that we looking out for,
yeah, for
then
sure.
obviously we'll see how Tatum comes back from his injury. We'll see how Hallie comes back from his injury. So like I said, that's definitely one we'll revisit a little bit later on down the line. But as far as the topic of today's episode, the actual topic of today's episode is I kind of wanted to circle back to something you mentioned in our last episode. So in our last episode, we were talking a lot about what high school players should work on and off the court as they make their transition to college. And one of the things that you said when we were having this conversation was that you need to become the person who can sustain the success that you're asking for. So what is that? What exactly does that mean?
Oftentimes I see players and I guess you could say celebrities, they get to a status to where everything that they do is magnified in a sense. You can't be the same person that you was before the fame. You can't be the same person that you was before the money, because if you are that same person, then some of your flaws will come to light, so to say, and you won't be able to sustain that level of success. Rather that be whatever that you are chasing to get to this success level, you have to be able to maintain that mindset,
For sure.
right? The mindset that you have when you're grinding, when you have little to nothing, the mindset that you have, the tunnel vision. Because once you reach a certain level, a lot of distractions are going to come. With
Mhm.
intention comes disruption, right? So if I'm intentional about being successful, it's going to be things that try to distract me along the way, whether that be, cars, whether that be me comparing myself to someone else's journey, women, whatever distraction is sent to knock me off my pivot, it will come because I'm focused and intentional about becoming this new version of myself. And I think oftentimes we've seen it a lot with, especially lately with these college athletes. Oftentimes, once you reach this level of success, those things kind of get magnified.
For sure. For sure. I think kind of to go a little bit deeper than that, for me, when you say you need to become the person that can sustain this kind of success, to me, that means like, you need to learn certain things. You need to acquire certain skills. Like, for example, let's say me let's say I got $1 million, bro. And somebody come up to me, let's say you, for example, you come up to me and ask me for 25,000 and you got a business plan. Like, I would not feel comfortable giving you $25,000 if I've seen you trick off $2,000. Like, you can't even do right with 2,000. You expect me to give you 25? You know what I mean? These are things that, you need to prepare yourself for. There's certain skills that you need to acquire along the way so that you are able to sustain this kind of success. So, like, I don't know. Another example as it pertains to basketball would be, everybody want to take the last shot, but how many last shots have you taken in the gym this week? You know what I mean? How many jumpers have you put up to the point where this is not a game winner, this is just another jump shot. You know what I mean? This needs to be these are the things that you need to do over and over and over again. These are skills that you need to acquire along the way. And that's what it means to me whenever you say you need to become the person that can sustain this kind of success because depending on the success that you're chasing, it might require different kinds of different skills, right? So some skills might be money management if you're a person who wants to make a lot of money and that's your definition of success, or it might be as the basketball example, the person who can take and make the last shot. If that's your version of what success looks like, then there are certain skills you need to acquire along the way. So my question for you is, what does success look like for you?
For me personally, success is really not an end goal. Like if that makes sense. Because with every level, you're gonna keep chasing it,
For sure.
whatever that
So
it
I
is.
guess I guess I wanna rephrase the question then a little bit. What would you say is your next step? What is the next goal that you wanna check off? The next goal you wanna accomplish?
The next goal, me personally, that I want to accomplish is, well, first off, first things first, I want to grow in the area that I'm in because that will allow me to, like we just talked about, sustain that level of success. I'm gonna go
Mhm.
back to that once for 1 second. I think adversity is meant to help you build and help you grow, right? So everything that you go through along the way, the adversity that you hit, the roadblocks that you hit on your journey, these roadblocks, these levels are meant for you to grow. They're meant for you to grow and prepare you for the future.
For sure.
Because I believe everyone's journey is designed for them, right?
Agreed.
So everything that you go through is designed for a purpose. This, if you are intentional about reaching your purpose or your
Agreed.
goal, whatever that may look like, right? So if you have a goal and everything is easy peasy, you just going through it, no roadblocks, it's probably not your purpose,
Mhm,
right?
okay.
Because when you on your road to your purpose, it's supposed to be stuff that tries to block you. It's supposed to be disruption, right? So I'm gonna give you an example, and this is just an example. So if we say we want to start out a podcast. So just I'm gonna use this podcast for example. We say we want to start a podcast. Well, leading up to this podcast, everything could have went right or wrong,
For
right?
sure.
So everything wrong, like stuff not showing up in the mail or
Mhm.
me having to buy certain things, like invest in myself in a way.
Mhm, mhm.
Those things are meant to keep you from this dream or this goal. So I think, everybody's journey is specifically designed for them. So the next step for me would just be to grow in the coaching phase first off,
Yep.
however, whatever that may look like, whether that's a head coach, whether that be what I'm doing now, whether that be, whatever my next step coaching wise on my journey, I'm ready for that next step and just to continue to grow. I want to continue to grow this podcast, just continue to be consistent with the content because this is something that helps people. I bump into people all the time that they references stuff from the podcast and that, like we said when we first started, if we can inspire anyone along the way, whether it's one person, whether it's 100 million people,
Yep.
then that means more to us than,
Mission accomplished.
instant gratification. You know what I
For
mean?
sure.
Mission accomplished.
For sure.
So I want to first take this next step in coaching, whatever that may look like, whatever the journey has in line for me. I want to continue to grow this podcast, right?
Mhm.
Whatever that may look like, inspire as many people. Because my biggest thing is I want to impact as many people as I can along the
For
way.
sure.
Like I made a post the other day. The world has enough critics, right? Inspire someone.
Mhm.
That I want to be
Love
that
that.
person who people look to for inspiration. Because the word, like, that's a true statement. The word has enough critics. Everywhere you
Yep.
turn is somewhere critiquing you. I think taking the next step with this podcast, just continue to be consistent with the content, continue to grow, and my training business just continue to grow in that aspect of my life as well,
Mhm.
whatever that may look like. My ultimate goal is to have a gym. I want to build a gym for athletes that are looking to become something,
Mhm.
like they really want to take it serious. So I've been looking to some things about that, and I have a couple of more entrepreneur phases that I'm looking at. But for
For
the
sure.
most part, I think that is my next step.
Before I get into my next question, for me, my version of success is so I put a dollar amount on it. My success to me is 100,000. Not because of the dollar amount in itself, but because I've been able to do so much with less than that, that I know that if I was able to put myself in a position to make that amount of money every single year, then there will be no limits to the things that I can accomplish. So whether it be, continue to build the podcast, get a nicer space, things like that, provide for my family. You know what I mean? Like I say this humbly, but my girl and my kid, they don't want for nothing, you know what I mean? And I do that making less than 100,000 every year. So for me, is I think that me understanding how, the direction that the world is going in, how things are not getting any cheaper. Once upon a time, $50,000, you could you could grow a
It'd be
family
pretty
out
good.
50,000. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you'd be
Nowadays,
pretty well
you
off.
need 50,000 to even survive. You know what I'm saying? For me, it's a dollar amount. Now, in order for me to get to that dollar amount, that would require me to get probably one more promotion, and then do some little things on the side here and there. But for sure, one more promotion. Now, my question to you is obviously I know that coaching is your thing. And so the obvious next step for you would be to be the head coach of your own team. Honestly, do you think that if the door was to open right now, would you be ready? And if the answer is no, then what's missing? What do you think you need to work on? And like, is there any intent behind acquiring these skills that may be missing?
I think if the door was to open, I'd be ready for sure. I think it's of course it's always gonna be things you have to learn.
For
So
sure.
I'm always learning. I'm always gonna be a sponge. So of course it's things that I have to learn
Mhm.
along the way. If a door was to open, I would be ready. I think the journey has kind of prepared that for me. I've grown over these last couple of years more than I can I can even speak, like put into words,
For
like,
sure.
like so I think I'd be ready. I think whenever it does come, that it'll be my time. Like if the door was to open tomorrow, I know that it is just my time, right?
Yeah.
So I'll be prepared for that. Of course, I never fully answer yes, I'll be fully prepared because honestly, I can't honestly say that because
Right.
because I'm always growing because
For sure.
everything is always changing. The game is always changing. There's things behind the scenes of coaching on the court that you have to be ready for as
For
well.
sure.
So I think I just never stop learning, just never stop
Yeah.
growing. I'll be ready, but it will require me to grow another step for sure.
Yeah. Like when you say grow another step, what you mean?
I think growing emotionally, personally, like with every level that you reach, every level that you grow up requires you to take it up a notch,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if
Mm-hmm.
I was to take it up a notch and become my own head coach of a school, then I would have to grow my personality, my emotions with it. Like I can't be the same person as head coach, so I have to grow again because it's like you put in a perspective like a video game, like it has levels, right? It's the
Yeah.
same thing with life. Same thing. Every
Yeah.
time you take it up a notch, every time you reach the level of success, if you don't grow with it, that's how people tends to lose their success,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
Because the character is not up to the level of success that they have.
Exactly.
So if I
100%.
was to become a head coach, my character has to grow with it, or else I won't be able to sustain that. And coaching is more than just X's and O's. Coaches is leadership. Coaching
Mhm.
is relationship. Stuff like that. Things
Yep.
behind the scene of coaching that you have to be prepared for as well. So when I say grow, I might be ready basketball wise,
Mhm.
knowledge wise, but I also have to grow my emotions, my intelligence with
For sure.
outside stuff along with it. If I want to be able to sustain or have that level of success that I wish to have.
And the purpose of me asking the questions is because again, the conversation is about becoming the person that you need to become in order to sustain the success that you're asking for, right? So for me in my personal journey, in my professional journey, so at the company I work for, the hierarchy is basically it goes entry level and then supervisor and then manager, then director, then VP, and then you continue going up the ladder all the way up to the CEO, right? So in order for in my journey, this is how I literally watched it all play out for myself. This is how everything played out for myself, and this is how I imagine it to play out in the future. So, in order for me to become a supervisor at the company that I work for, first I started off as an entry level agent, and then I became an expert at my craft. I was the person responsible for the job itself, and then I became an expert in my craft. How did I do that? Well, I took some advice. I learned from experience, a lot of trial and error, things like that. And then eventually I became an expert. And then from that point in time where I became an expert, I felt like, so that was the thing that automatically responsible for. But then I had to pick up some intangibles. Like how I mentioned in a previous episode. I learned how to talk to people different. I learned how to lead by example. I learned how to facilitate a conversation. I learned how to give a presentation. I learned how to put together a PowerPoint deck and be able to present it to some very important people kind of deals. Okay, cool. I picked up those intangibles. And once I picked up those intangibles, I hit the ceiling on that level. From there, it was time for me to go to be a supervisor. Now, once I became a supervisor, my job now is not, it has nothing to do with the job itself. Like my role now is to to build the people who report to me, build them up to be able to perform the same task that I was performing once upon a time. And then once I'm able to do that successfully for a long enough period of time, then I will have hit the ceiling on this level too. And then it's time to go to the next one, which is where the promotion that I want comes in. And in order for me to confidently say that I'm ready to take that next step, like I'll be honest, if the door was to open today, I would be ready, but I could be more ready.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know what I'm
For
saying?
sure.
And in order for me to be more ready, I would have to. So essentially, my job now is to create successful agents. Well, when I take the step up, my job is no longer it becomes less about the actual groundwork and more so about, can you create a leader to lead other people? You know what I mean? So little things like that is what my I wake up with intent every day to go and acquire these skills that are necessary so that, like you say, I feel like, I'm so intentional with my purpose that if the door was to open for me tomorrow, it's because it's my time. You know what I mean? Because every day I wake up, I walk towards this goal with a purpose. Like every single day, I'm trying to acquire new skills. I'm trying to sharpen the knife, sharpen the knife, sharpen the knife. So when the door opens up, it'll be a no brainer. I'm just gonna walk right through it. Now, granted, it's still gonna be little things, little odd things that you can only learn from experience, kind of like with coaching. I mean, if you was the head coach your own team, there's gonna be little small things that you can only learn if you from being in the situation. But for the most part, as I'm walking towards this thing with purpose, like you say, man, if the door opens for me, I think I'll be ready for sure, for sure.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I feel the exact same way. I'll be ready, but I can definitely be more ready. No,
Yeah, for sure.
but when you're a student of the game, and even in your aspect, you're a student of the game, not necessarily
Yep.
basketball game, but
100%
you're a
though.
student
100%.
of your craft, right?
Mhm.
You're gonna always feel like that because you always are chasing better. You always are, looking to grow more.
Yep.
So I think that's a good feeling. Like that's a feeling that because you're a competitor at the end of the day. That's the feeling that
100%.
competitors have. Yeah, you're better. Yeah, you can be better, but you're gonna be ready, but you can be more ready.
For
So
sure.
I 100% feel that
I'm
way.
like you though. I'm like you. You could always be more ready. I don't
Yeah,
think,
for
like, you
sure.
know what I'm saying? Like, I like that, even though we both know that there are certain things that you can only acquire in the moment, like in certain scenarios, we still feel confident that if the door was to open up, that we will walk through it, no second thought about it. Right. And the main reason why we feel this so strongly about it is because we accepted the fact that, okay, in this part of the journey, we just becoming the person who can sustain the success, bro.
Yeah,
I'm so intentional, and you're so intentional about achieving this persona or becoming this particular person that, with this intention, bro, the only thing that's missing is timing, bro. The
yeah,
opportunity. You know what I mean? And one thing I did want to talk about too is there was a crazy stat that I read not too long ago. So there was a show that used to come on, I want to say like HGTV or something like that. Anyways, the show was about people who had won the lottery and then went broke afterwards. So that sparked me to go look into some stats. Crazy stat for you, bro. 70% of lottery winners go broke again. 70%. Why do you think that is?
because they didn't go through the journey and the character, and it may sound cliche, but their character didn't get a chance to grow because they didn't go through adversity. They didn't go through what it took to get there, right? Like,
Yep.
and that's where we go to talk about the journey. Like the journey prepares you for this. Like you got overnight success. Is that
Mm-hmm.
sustainable? Right?
Nope.
Like microwave success is not sustainable. You have to put the time in, you have to put the work in because
Yeah.
you learn how to cherish that, right? Not only cherish it, like you became a millionaire overnight, but you still had the same mindset as you were when you were broke. Like how can you sustain that?
Mm-hmm.
Like
I
how can that's a better question. How can you sustain that with the same mindset that you had?
It's
Because
gonna be difficult.
the first thing you're gonna think about, oh, I'm going to get a Lamborghini.
Mhm.
Like I'm going
I'm
to
about
get something
I'm
I
finna pop
I
it.
always
I'm finna
wanted.
pop it now. It's over. I'm popping it.
Yeah, but like I think the journey didn't have time to prepare you. So when you
I
get
agree with you.
overnight success like that, I'm not saying it's impossible to sustain, but it's just harder. Like it's harder to sustain.
For sure. Nothing is impossible. But with
Right.
numbers like with a number like 70%, that tells me a lot, bro. Like one thing about it, numbers don't lie. When people say numbers don't lie, numbers do not lie, bro. Like 70% of lottery winners go broke, bro. That's a huge number. A lot of it has to do with, like you said, it's that microwave success. You did not become the person necessary to sustain it. Because the person necessary to sustain, what was the last lottery? Almost $1 billion. The person that you need to be to sustain that is financially responsible. That person makes good financial decisions. That person has business plans and people in their corner who they can talk to execute these things. You know what I
Emotional
mean?
intelligence.
Emotional intelligence. You know what I'm saying? They have people around them who are not trying to leech off them, but are trying to, you know what I mean, are pushing them in a positive direction. But
And adversity is the only way you can find out if the people around you are for you. When you're going through adversity, when you're at the top, everyone is cheering you on,
for
right?
sure.
But when you're at the bottom, those claps start getting smaller and smaller, and now you can see who's really clapping. But when you're at the top, everybody's cheering. So when you look around, it looks like everybody's on your side. But at the bottom, and I truly believe this, and I've seen this as well. When you're at the bottom teaches you lessons that you'll never learn at the top.
I
Now,
agree with that
I 100%,
100%.
100% agree with that. It teaches you how to become that person that we're talking about. Like the
Most
bottom
definitely.
really, it really brings this person out of you and it shows you the people around you. So a lot, like we just said, I just think you have to go through your journey. There's no shortcuts.
Agreed. Agreed. I think, on the topic of the bottom, right? I think my hope is that with episodes like this, we can catch somebody on the right trajectory as they're getting ready to make that change for the better in their lives so that they don't got to make the same mistakes that we made. Cause me personally, the things that I'm talking about right now, I've been at the top of the world before, in my opinion. Like to me, I felt like I was at the top of the world and I learned nothing up here, bro. I learned nothing. But I've been up here before, but it wasn't until I got knocked back down to here that I really started to pay attention and learn the things that we talking about right now. That like, I wasn't able to sustain it. Like I didn't have adversity hit, and I didn't have the weapons necessary to get through it. But now that I'm going through the journey again, but with much more intent, the skills that I need to acquire along the way are so apparent and obvious. You know what I'm saying? Is that adversity to do that to you. So hopefully if anybody listening to one of our episodes, we can catch you on your first way to the top.
Yeah, for sure, for
Cause
sure.
that fall off get crazy, man. That fall off get crazy, bro.
Yeah. And I also wanna let you know this. Like the day you plant the seed is not the day you reap the harvest. You just have to stay down and continue to grow. Stay down and continue to
That's a
grind. Every day
message.
is not gonna look the same. Don't expect it to come overnight. Anything that comes easy won't last.
Yep.
And
Don't need
anything that
nothing fast
lasts,
but
it
a
won't come
crash.
easy. Yep. It
Don't
it
need
won't
nothing
come
fast but
easy.
a
So
crash.
continue to grind. Continue to put your time in. Continue to put your work in. Even if you feel like it's not paying off, get up and do the work anyway.
Hmm.
Cause just remember, like 1% better every day. Continue to stack days and
Yep.
continue to grind and do the right things, and your journey will prepare you for the life that you're gonna get.
100%, man. Become the best version of yourself. That's my advice. Become the absolute best version of yourself. Chase that every single day. Don't chase the accolades. Don't chase the rewards. Don't chase the recognition. Chase chase yourself, bro. Chase who you supposed to be tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that. If you constantly improve that image of yourself, and I think that's a important part too, right? In order for you to become the person that is necessary to sustain success, you got to have a clear understanding of what is success to you. You know what I mean? What is success to you, and who is that? Who is the person that can sustain that? Like, who do you have to become? What are some things that needs to be sacrificed in order for you to get there? You right. So while you're on the subject of sacrifice, so there's a show that I watch, and one of the basic principles of the show is the law of equivalent exchange. So essentially, the law of equivalent exchange says that in order for you to get something, you have to give something. That's pretty basic. That's like the basic law of the universe, right? In order to get something, you got to give something, right? So most of the times on our pathway to happiness, success, whatever you might want to say, that give and take looks like sacrifice. You know what I mean? So my question for you is what are you willing to sacrifice to get to your next step? And are there any things that you're not willing to sacrifice?
I'm willing to sacrifice First off, sleep. Like, I'm willing to sacrifice getting up early in the morning, like I do now. Like, if you don't know me, I wake up at 5 in the morning. And if you do know me, I'm probably texting you super early. I'm not up late at night, so if you text me at 10 p.m., I'm probably gonna
Yeah.
text you back at 4:59 a.m. So I'm willing to sacrifice that for the life that I want to live. I'm willing to sacrifice free time, quote unquote. Free time is in, everybody needs that day in the week where you just kind of reset, whatever
For
that day
sure.
may look like. But I'm willing to sacrifice going out. I'm willing to sacrifice, like, 20-year-olds, they chase other things. I'm willing to
Mhm.
sacrifice that. I'm focused on the person that I'm meant to become, the life that I want to live. That's what I'm focused on. I'm not willing to sacrifice my family or anything like that. Like, just like I cherish my journey, my grind, I cherish my time with them as well. I know that it's
Mhm.
not a balance, because I spend more time in the gym and doing other things than I spend with them, but I still cherish that time.
Yeah.
And, I'm not willing to sacrifice that. But I just honestly feel like when you're on that road going to somewhere that you want to be, like when you're intentional about going somewhere you want to be, it's just certain things that you won't be able to do, and you got to be okay with that.
For sure.
Regardless if there's a basketball player, football player, soccer player, baseball player, or if you're you work for a company,
Yeah.
it's just some things that you gotta sacrifice. And you gotta be okay with it. You can't live the life that everybody else live. You have a intentional focus, right? You're focused on this one thing, and until you get this, you cannot lose that focus by becoming distracted, right? And that just goes back to something I said in the show, with intention comes disruption. So you have to be super intentional and super focused and super intentional about what you want out of life.
For sure, 100%. I think for me, so when it comes to sacrifice, right? So number one, success for me is really based around my morals and values. So my morals and values for me is always going to be God first, family second. So for me, I'm willing to sacrifice everything in order to get to my version of success, except for my morals and values, bro.
Yeah.
Because I believe, and excuse me, as you on this journey to become this person that you're supposed to be, right? This person that is necessary for you to be. You got to look out for signs, bro. Like I know so many people who you can't tell, like they so focused on what they want, the destination at the finish line, bro. They so focused on the finish line that you can't tell them maybe God got a different plan for you, bro. You know what I mean? But there are signs along the way. You know what I'm saying? Like, I give you an example. Like, in my opinion, it's just me. In my opinion, maybe because these are my morals and values that I'm talking about. But in my opinion, as I'm going down this pathway, if there comes a time where I'm having to choose between what I thought was my next step and my family, if I got to choose between them two, then this next step wasn't never for me anyway. Because in my opinion, the right thing for me would not require me to sacrifice. It would not require me to choose between the two. You know what I'm saying? Now, if I got to choose sleep or take this next step, I'm going to sacrifice the sleep, no brainer. You know what I'm saying? If I got to choose, take a little small pay cut for a short amount of time so you can reap the rewards later. I'm doing that. No question, no thought about it. You know what I
But
mean?
sleep is a big sacrifice because not many people wants to sacrifice sleep.
Oh, I agree with you 100%. But see, this is the thing too. Like for you, sacrificing sleep looks like go to sleep early so you can wake up early. For
Yeah, for
me,
sure.
sacrificing my sleep looks is not about that. It's about those sleepless nights when I finally do get into bed. I'm tossing and turning because my brain is wired to.
Yeah,
I'm
for
a
sure.
problem solver. You know what I'm saying? So I'm
Yeah.
thinking about okay, I got X Y Z to do tomorrow, and if I need to figure out how I can get this done in the most efficient way possible. And I also need to have conversations with A, B, and C too while I'm at it. You see what I'm saying? So for me, the lack of sleep comes from, I mean, that it's just my mind always turning and turning and turning. But that's for me, I'm willing to accept that, bro. You know what I mean? I either accept it and learn how to deal with it better, or I quit right now and use that as an excuse. I wasn't willing to
Yeah, that's
sacrifice my
excuse.
sleep.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's me. That's how I look at the as far as sacrifice is concerned. For me personally, I'm willing to sacrifice everything except my morals and values, bro. Because
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, like you say, it take a lot, bro. Adversity gonna hit, and when adversity hit, you can either learn and grow, or you can quit and use it as an excuse, bro. What you gonna do?
for sure.
What you gonna do, man? And so, with that being said, we don't want to take up too much of the people's time today. This is just, one of those episodes to really, really kick off the week. My advice and my hope for all of y'all is as you guys go through this week, go through it with intention. I mean, if you haven't thought about what your purpose is, sometimes it requires a long, hard look in the mirror and a real in-depth conversation with yourself, man. For all the athletes out there, I hope that you guys get up every single day this week. I hope God blesses you guys with the ability to wake up every single day this week and hit it hard, bro. Hit it with intention. For the people who are trying to find that career in life or trying to figure out their way, man, ain't nothing wrong with punching the clock every day, man. I ain't about to be one of these people who out here advertising and make it seem like you could just everybody made to go work for themselves. It ain't always like that, bro. Ain't nothing wrong with going to punch the clock. Do it with some intention though. If you're gonna do it 100% so you can know if it's for you or not. That's my advice to you guys as you guys go throughout this week. You got any last words for the people before we let them go, coach?
Yeah, I'm gonna just say, man, whatever you want out of life, write it down. Like whatever goals that you have, write it down because you got to see where you're going. So I challenge you this week to write who you want to be, write where you want to be within the next 5 years. Who do you want to be? Where do you see yourself within the next 5 years? And just be intentional about becoming this person and intentional about getting this goal that you write down. Because in the journey, it's gonna be adversity along the way. You're gonna need sometimes to often look back at this. You need this to clear your view sometimes. We're all imperfect. We're gonna get distracted by things that are meant to knock us off our journey. But if you write it down, if you say it every day, put it somewhere, put it on your mirror, put it on your wall. Even if you're a high school athlete, you can benefit from this. I want to be the top 12 best players in the state. I want to be
Yeah.
one of the 12 best players in the state. Okay, write it down, put it on the wall, put it on your mirror. Every morning when you brush your teeth, I want you looking at it because days that you don't feel like working out, you're gonna need to look at this. Days where you
Mhm.
feel tired, you're gonna need to look at this. Days where you get home at night, you don't want to cut that film on because you just had a bad game, you're gonna
Yeah.
need to look at this. So write down your goals. Where do you want to be within the next 5 years? Who do you want to be? And keep this in sight every single day.
With that being said, this has been another episode of Successful Habits Pod. Always remember, man, like, share, subscribe. Make sure you pass along the message to a friend. Shoot us a message. Let us know what you think. We love all the feedback from that we've been getting over the last couple weeks. Other than that, man, we'll catch y'all in the next one. We out of here.
Hey, we out. Bless you to all.